It is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've decided that since the sun is shining, I want to get a good walk in today. Get a little vitamin D. For those that don't know this, I recently made the decision to rebrand my podcast, Answer Man Podcast. Pretty bold decision. It's not a decision that I made lightly. Got tons of advice from some truly invested people in my life. I have well-trusted people in my life that said, absolutely not. Do not do what you're about ready to do. That's a horrible mistake. And then I had people in my life that I trust just as much as those people. And they said, dude, you have to do this. You have to go for it. It's the right move. I weighed all of the advice that I got very heavily, and I came to a decision to do the logical thing. I decided that I had to keep Podcast Answer Man as a separate identity. There's just too much brand equity there. Even though my heart was telling me that I only want one solo audio podcast, that the next season of my life is stepping outside of being known only as the Podcast Answer Man. I'm not happy. Over the past 35 minutes, I've been in airplane mode, recording a long series of snaps. Normally it works fine. You just leave it in airplane mode, and then when you take it out, you tap each snap and it sends it off to your story. I just recorded, I believe, one of the most inspirational, awesome snap stories about where I'm at in my journey. And just seconds ago, when I had pretty much completed the whole thing, the app closed on me. It just absolutely shut down. And because of it just shutting down, it basically cleared out the cache of all of those snaps that I had recorded. Oh boy, is that frustrating. Wow. What I shared, man, it was on my heart to share. And gosh, was it encouraging and motivational and inspirational. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm walking back to my house right now. I'm gonna sit in my studio and record using video on my phone only. I will edit that into my vlog for today. Right. Get the ball. Get the ball. Go. All right. Get the ball. Okay, so just a little detour to play with the neighborhood dog. It's a couple hours later now, and I'm back out here walking. Just for those who might be wondering, the reason why I was in airplane mode is because I had attempted to record my story today with my Rode SmartLav Plus microphone to avoid too much wind noise being out here in the neighborhood walking. The only problem is that the Rode SmartLav microphone picks up a little signal interference from the cellular radios in the phone. But listening back to this now, actually getting pretty decent audio just with the built-in microphone on the phone. I will share the overall theme of what it was that happened earlier, and that was I've been getting a lot of good feedback regarding my decision to rename or rebrand the Podcast Answer Man podcast as the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. Oh yeah, I forgot. You guys didn't get that part. But yes, so initially I went with the logical decision. Tried that for a couple weeks and things were going pretty well. But two very significant things happened in the past few weeks that changed my decision. I talk about all of that in episode number 439 of what is now known as the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. In essence, I decided to go ahead and follow my heart, and I merged two podcasts into one, and the Podcast Answer Man is now the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. You can listen to that episode explaining all of the details at podcastanswerman.com/439. The overwhelming feedback has been extremely positive. Most importantly, I feel awesome about the decision. I want to share with you an email that I got from one person who isn't so thrilled with the decision that I made. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera around so you don't have to see me looking down. And so yeah, you're going to get a view like this as I read to you an email from a guy named Orlando, who is a former listener to the Podcast Answer Man podcast. Hi Cliff, my name is Orlando, I'm a fellow podcaster from Puerto Rico, and I've listened to your Podcast Answer Man show for many years. I also know a little bit about marketing and public relations. I simply can't imagine why you would throw away years of hard work positioning the Podcast Answer Man brand. I also can't understand why you would mix two subjects that have very little to do with each other, regardless of how dear either one of them is to you. My only possible conclusion would be that you are losing steam and focus. For now, I just deleted your show from my podcatcher as it has become a blurry mess. I hope you re-find your true north. All the best from sunny Puerto Rico, Orlando. Here's the thing, I value every piece of feedback that I get, even if I don't agree with it, at least when it's not from a troll anyway. And Orlando is no troll. Before I go any further, I want to read to you my response to Orlando, and I'm going to flip the camera over for this as well. Orlando, no worries at all, my friend. I believe that I'm in a transitional period of life, and I'm discovering a new true north. People said the same thing to me when I decided to stop podcasting about television shows and start podcasting about podcasting, social media, and business. That transition worked out pretty well, despite having 30,000 people decide to no longer follow what I was doing. Back then, I had approximately 65,000 people who knew my name and associated it with television commentary through a podcast. Today, I have about 1.5 million people who know my name, and they associate it with podcast training, coaching, and consulting. I have found that sometimes in life, what got you to where you are is not necessarily what it will take to get you to where you next need to go in life. For me, I am embracing the next season of my life. I wish you well, and I trust that you will find some amazing new content to fill the time slot freed up by unsubscribing from my show. I sincerely wish you all the best, Cliff. So yeah, that was my response to Orlando, and I meant it. You know, I can't expect everybody to follow me everywhere I go in life. Don't get me wrong, I value each and every single subscriber I have out there. But maybe I'm just meant to be a part of their life for a season. And the reality is I knew that the email from Orlando, not specifically from him, but I knew these kind of emails, they were coming. I know that I'll have many more of these come in over the next couple of weeks and months ahead. And here's the thing, Orlando may have a whole lot more experience, wisdom, and knowledge when it comes to business and marketing. And I am not discounting the advice that he's given me at all. I'm pretty sure for some people, it'd be just the right thing they need to hear. But I do think it is possible to come to a different conclusion about what I've done than I've simply ran out of steam and lost focus. There is potential that the decision that I've made to rebrand the podcast, it could impact my financial income streams. You can bet that I had given a ton of thought to that. But in reality, not a whole lot has really changed at all. The thing is that Podcast Answer Man has really been the Cliff Ravenscraft show for the last year and a half anyway. The change officially took place back when I changed the script from where it used to say, this is the podcast about podcasting, to this is the podcast devoted to helping you take your message, your business, and your life to the next level. Really, not that much is actually going to change other than the name of the show, with the exception of one thing. I'm no longer going to try to appease the very vocal minority who are consistently hoping that I will come to my senses and make my podcast all about the technical nuts and bolts and ins and outs of podcasting. Over the past year and a half, there have been like series of podcast episodes, 4 to 6 weeks at a time, where I try to appease people. Oftentimes, I find that kind of content just mind-numbingly boring. I've been there, I've done that. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy helping people who want to learn how to podcast right now. But doing it through podcasting A to Z. At least there, I get to mix in a little bit of business or life or mindset coaching into the process. And there are times when I just feel compelled to create a technical tutorial. And so I plan on continuing those products and services as well. When it comes to creating a weekly audio podcast, it's not the nuts and bolts of podcasting that I want to talk about. I feel like there's something more meaningful that I need to do with the time that I have behind the microphone. I think it's a shame that Orlando decided that he's going to delete the subscription to the podcast Answer Man, or actually what is now the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. I mean, I think about all the people that listen to my show that certainly know a whole lot more than I do about business and success and marketing. I think about Michael Hyatt. Did you know he listens to my podcast every week? It still blows my mind. In fact, go check out the comment section on episode 439. Go to podcastanswerman.com/439. There you'll see the very brief exchange that Michael and I had in the comment section about this decision. Then there's Michael Stelzner from Social Media Examiner, who listens to my show each week. There's my friend Ray Edwards from rayedwards.com. There's my friend Dan Miller, who wrote the book 48 Days to the Work You Love. Millions of copies of that book sold. I mean, I could go on and on about the names of the people, the individuals who are subscribed to my podcast. And not just who are subscribed, but these guys that I've mentioned and many others, they listen to every single episode. And when it comes to the ones that I've just mentioned just a few moments ago, they share a few things in common with each other. Number one, they do not listen to the podcast for technical advice about podcasting. They could care less. Number two, they tell me that they listen each week as a source of inspiration and encouragement. I mean, these are the most successful people I know personally in life. And I mean, like, these are most people's virtual mentors. And as the result of my podcast, they are personal friends of mine, and they tune into me for inspiration and encouragement. I mean, it's just crazy to think about. I mean, I still don't quite fully understand it, but I've come to embrace it. And really, that's what it's about. It's about me embracing my true identity and my true worth and what I have to offer the world. And am I afraid that I'm going to see a significant drop in my income as a result of this decision? I'd be lying if I said that I hadn't thought about it and had a little bit of anxiety about the unknown. But here's what I can tell you. The names of the people that I just gave you, plus about 7 other people who also listen to my show on a regular basis, some of them weekly also, I can trace about 80% of all the income I've made over the last 8 years to those 10 or 11 people. You might be wondering, how is that possible? Well, let me explain. You see, by Michael and Ray and Mike and all the other people listening to my show each week and having friendships with them offline, I actually have a significant amount of influence in their lives. Listen to their podcasts. You'll hear them mention my name week after week after week. They talk about me in their blog posts. And on multiple occasions, when they're out doing public speaking, from the stage they talk about me and my story. They invite me to speak from the stage at their events, their conferences. And I get text messages from these guys all the time. It says, "Hey Cliff, I had lunch with so-and-so today, and you came up. I told them to check you out." And if these 10 people continue to stay subscribed to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, and we continue to have our offline relationships, then I can tell you, my friends, that I am not doing any damage to my financial future. In fact, I know from conversations one-on-one with each of them that I think they're all waiting for me to fully embrace this next season of life and to start creating the new products and services that will take everything to the next level. And when I do that, I believe these guys are going to throw open the floodgates of referrals that they've been wanting to send me all along. Anyway, my friends, I don't know which one was better. I think I tend to believe that the first version of this was better earlier today, more succinct. But I guess I did kind of get what I had on my heart shared. As you can tell, it's no longer sunny and bright out here, and now that it's dark, the picture's getting grainy. And there's really no reason for me to make this any longer than, wow, how long this vlog entry already is. With that, I'm going to say goodnight, everybody, and until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do in life to the next level.